Madam Speaker, maybe you could share with us, what was it like for you in school, your own career progression?
I was in Singapore Chinese Girls' School. In the early days, I was there for primary and secondary school. There were very few Malay kids. In fact, in my whole class, I'm the only Malay. The experience was generally very good, but there was one time when this little girl in primary school, she refused to hold my hand because I'm of a different race. I remember that. It's so many years, but somehow it's stuck in my mind. Fortunately, I have other experiences. I had very good friends in the Singapore Chinese Girls' School who are Chinese, and we had great times with those friendships. The parents play a very important part to teach you about respecting other people, other races.
We all should bear that responsibility because we will all go through the negative experiences. So if our society is actually going to be very, very negative, the one who suffers is not somebody else, it's you and your family as well. Once we begin to acknowledge and realize the importance of the negative things that can happen, you will actually want to take on the responsibility.
But David, I don't think that as a majority you suffer the same as a minority. There are certain societal pressures that affect a minority. I'll give you a personal anecdote. I was on set filming, and this particular person who is an actress, she comes over and she's like, hey, hi, good morning. Hey, hi, good morning. Hey, Divian, what is happening?
Oh my God, no.
Right? Yeah. At that moment, I realized, oh, I'm Indian to you.
You're different.
I'm different. I'm different. But you see, in highlighting that will disrupt some form of social dynamic. We are going to be seen as being overly sensitive and not being able to take a joke. But we receive that every single day. As we grow up, it's a constant pressure that is not represented or evident, say, to the majority as much, I feel.
You are absolutely right, and I actually agree with you. The question is that you being Chinese in the majority group ought to be more sensitive. When the Chinese are together, sometimes you tend not to take note. But for the minority group, it's very obvious when you are in the minority. You put me in the group of female, my gender identity get activated, right? But when you put me in the group of half males, half females, 50-50, I don't think about gender. When you are in the majority, you need to be more sensitive. This internalization of respect for different ethnic groups is real. It's not something that is politically correct. One example is if you see somebody on social media and say something like racist, or really bad towards one particular religion, you notice immediately in real time, hundreds of people will admonish the person. Now remember, all those people doing the scolding, actually it is anonymous. There is no need to be politically correct. And one way to think about it is the golden rule, you see. Would you like what you're going to say to be said about you? And when you realize that, no, you don't want, you probably will not choose to say those nasty things. My best friend is Malay, and I've known him since I was 18 years old. When you're 18 years old, that's where your core values develop. I really think that at that time, we didn't look at each other as you're different. I grew up forming quite positive stereotypes of certain ethnic groups because you have good friends from a particular ethnic group that is not your own. And when people talk negative things about other ethnic group, I actually get quite upset because I activate in my mind, hey, you're talking about my friend. The idea of having naturalistic interaction, growing up together, going through common things is quite important. We must make sure that in schools, at the workplace, we do not end up segregating people.
I've had very positive experience overall. When you meet a person, you don't care where they come from or are they Malay, Chinese or Indian.
True enough.
When we interact with people, you should treat them well. If they're an elderly, respect them. If they are young, try and get close to them. If we all do that, we will get somewhere very positive. We can get close together. We all should learn from how our elders interact. Educate our kids in what's practical and how to be decent and respectful to the other race.
I lived in a Seligi house for many years. And in the 1960s, we had the racial riots. And people died killing each other. In Seligi house, there were only a handful of Malay families, Indian families, predominantly Chinese. But my family never felt threatened or intimidated. We felt perfectly comfortable because there was a tremendous amount of trust and respect for each other. My late sister, she used to cook and give them food during festivals to send over festive goodies. That helps to build a strong sense of rapport and bonding among us. We didn't feel threatened at all.
For example, like my mom brought me to see a friend. She's a vegetable seller. She's a Chinese. My mom's Malay. And they spoke in Tamil. She told me, you have to meet this person. And when I was watching them speaking Tamil and fluent Tamil, mind you, and I was thinking...
Your mom can speak Tamil?
My mom can speak Tamil. So they learn it from their friends and their neighbors. So they were talking in Tamil, and of course I brought my camera. And I recorded the whole thing. And I put it up on social media. And that just
shared the
went
video.
viral. And looking at all the comments, people miss this interaction. Everyone say this is racial harmony. As a child, I stay in Tanglin Hall. Predominantly, there's a lot of Malays there. But I have Chinese neighbors. We used to ask for sugar and salt because we all poor at that time. But when we interact, it was a rich experience. There was no such thing as Malay or Chinese. I have a good friend who come to my house and he calls my mom Ma. He calls my father Pa. He just embraced the language. I was wondering, how did that happen? If my kid have a Chinese friend, will she call me Pa? I don't know. Something must have happened along the way that changed this.
I live in Yishun, and on my level there are 4 houses.
Okay.
So we have a Chinese family, an Indian family, a Malay family, and us. We're like a Eurasian family. So during the different festivals, we always exchange things with each other. So
Yes,
Deepavali, our Indian neighbors give us Indian food, and we're just doing an exchange, and we just like a whole representation of Singapore on one level. And things like
That's so
this
nice.
make Singapore really interesting and really unique, and it's great.
People can go beyond race. They can become race blind because of positive experiences with each other.
we need to
And that
reinforce
is
that.
what we have to continue
Yeah.
to cultivate and grow. We will reach a certain level only if we begin to internalize racial harmony. We don't even have to think about it. It comes so naturally to us.
The positive experience came about because there are differences and you saw respect, not because there are no differences. It's quite important to not pretend that race don't exist, but to remember that despite of the race differences, we enjoy and interact harmoniously.
Let's not forget that there are a lot of non-Singaporeans in Singapore. We need to include them, and we need to make them feel more at home because they left their countries to be with us.